This is extremely important for the diaspora because those who come behind us must be faithful. They must get the strength to stand firm into their beliefs. They must understand their foundation and they must understand their own reference point. So it is very, in my opinion, to provide the means of preserving the culture, fostering a unity of core values and reference points that empower those who come behind us.
This is a wonderful topic today. Stories can shape the future of the African diaspora and play a vital role in healing and transformation. There's an enduring power of narratives. Stories are the threads that weave the fabric of our identity. And for those in the African diaspora, our narratives are often fragmented, scattered across continents, and buried under the weight of history. But when we come together to share, we begin a collective narrative, one that transcends borders and time.
It is important that when we are talking of, because for somebody that is hearing you talk about ancestral healing for the first time, that individual might sort of be frightened, because of course that is how we have been educated to be scared of who we are, to be scared of our tradition, our belief system and all of that. But what a shame. We should never be ashamed of who we are, because connecting to the ancestors is saying connected to your father, connected to your mother. Any tradition, any belief system, any education that teaches you to hate that channel is the institution of an oppressor. Hello and thank you for checking out this video. I'm Obehi Ewanfo, the host of the African Diaspora Storytelling Series. Every 2 weeks we meet up on LinkedIn to talk about different ways we can leverage the power of storytelling as people of African descent. Now this is it. We are uniting the millions of Africans in the diaspora through the power of our story. It does sound like what you are interested in. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends who might need it. Now, back to today's conversation. Building collective narrative with our story. And I think this should really resound among us as people of African descent, because we are looking at how do we build our collective narrative, because our narrative now comes to shape how we see ourselves and also how other people see us. Why not? It's on us to determine how we see ourselves in the world and also how other people see us. So this is important for us, and it's part of our intentionality in that we are not just waiting for fortune or time or some chances for us to be represented. We are choosing how we want to represent ourselves, and we are using our story as an instrument for us to be able to stand out in the crowd. We know who we are. This is what it means. And we are using that our experiences, those things that have happened to us, to explain that we are here present. That is important. You see, I was researching a couple of weeks ago now, I think, because we are talking about storytelling all the time, we are talking about how do we stand out in the competition in the name of our story. And because we are talking about human being, so I was asking myself, but how many people have actually been here in this experience that we call life? According to the statistics, there have been about 170 billion people that have walked the surface of the earth. That includes, of course, the 8 billion people that are currently living today. And when I take down that statistics, the message that comes to my mind keeps striking me very hard is that none of this person has been a mistake. All these people that have lived, none of them have been a mistake. Each of them have been unique, meaning we have our unique experiences, our story. But unfortunately, many people will disappear the same way that they show up without a trace. And I think we should never allow that to happen because we are not a mistake. Therefore, we should not just disappear like that. By disappearing without a trace, it means that when you fade away, because that is what happened to us. When we die, after a few years, our memory fade away, except maybe we have done something that make that memory continue to be in the mind of the people. Because we live in the memory of the people. Therefore, our experiences, how we influence other people, because those are the people that will make mention of us. And by making mention of us, because we have name, that name is an evocation of who we are. By the time they make mention of our name, therefore we are alive again. Just like when we make mention of Marcus Garvey, anytime we make mention of Marcus Garvey is alive. Because there is something particular about names. So I think our collective narrative is important that we learn how to use it to build up who we are. All right, so let me start with Madam Yemi. So Yemi, what is going to be your first take here? And please let the people know who you are. I think this conversation is really hot from the way I see it. Please go.
Thank you, OBI. Thank you for having me. Thank you, our beautiful audience. Basically, I'm a life coach to women 40 plus, managing relationship loss and surviving widows who have navigated to a certain point and are now ready to review and look at what they want for the future. And I also run workshops on coaching on so many issues that we cover and make us survive as individuals, especially when we get to the age 40 plus, because we've tasted life. Thank you for the opportunity again, OBI, to speak. And I was reflecting on this topic and I kept on reading it, saying building collective narratives with our stories. And my take on this today briefly is I was this morning, on a Monday, I go walking with a group. What came to mind when people were sharing, as this was a maybe 2 hour walk, people were sharing their stories. And we know the stories of the diaspora have an element of resilience, survival, strength. And yes, there's a lot of pain and trauma as well. However, when we were there was around 10 or 9 women and a couple of men. But what came to me is this is a collective. Then someone said something about she was looking to start a reading club. But from that, people were asking different questions. And I said, it's an opportunity to share our stories. So from that was quite inspiring. So from leaving that walk today, I came home and wrote these 3 points. I've written quite a few points, but the 3 points I want to touch on today is number 1, building community. Because when you build a community that can identify, you've already created an opportunity for stories to be told. Verbally, in written form, you've created a forum of expression. So it's very important wherever we go and we identify as a community of the diaspora. What you find in a lot of countries is, especially, well, I'm not going to, in a lot of countries, is sometimes people of the diaspora were made unconscious to feel we need to be invisible. And invisibility can take the form of identifying perhaps with the host participants of that country and denying your visibility with the person that is similar in sight to you or in color because of the expectation of your setting. So we need to build community. That means identifying, there's nothing wrong in identifying wherever you are, people who form that community. But number 1, building community that enables expression. And number 2, when we build communities, it's also, even when we want to express our stories, it requires 3 major elements, which is preparation. So, for example, even when we were talking today on the walk, you find people were talking about different things where they'd given speeches about coming from the wherever, the Caribbean, West Africa, whatever. But when the lady was speaking, she was sharing something about doing a big presentation to a large room. The presentation went okay, but when people started to ask questions, there was a bit of emotional triggers because sometimes we think we're prepared to share our stories, but we haven't actually done the therapeutic work. So we become emotionally vulnerable, and that can trigger greater things that can lead to something else. Number 2, so the preparation is important. Number 2, to successfully share your story, you need to have set this is my coach hat on now, set goals and timelines. So you could have a collective community